Adam Gillette is here, the president of Accuracy in Media. Erika Donalds is here, chair of Education Opportunity for America First Policy Institute. Erika, talk to me about this. Your reaction to Nicki Minaj showing up. That was the surprise guest. The audience did not know who it was, who the surprise was. It ends up being global superstar Nicki Minaj. And she essentially stood up and said, hey, look, I think this is why I like the president. She kind of alluded that there were others like other celebrities like her out there.
Yes, I was at AmericaFest for all 4 days. This was definitely a culminating moment. The entire arena absolutely erupted when Nicki Minaj came out with Erika Kirk. And it was wonderful to see her authenticity about her beliefs in President Trump, in the America First movement, in what Turning Point is doing in all of the young people. She even said that this was the most important stage that she had been on, despite all of the success she's had in concerts around the world. But it's wonderful to see her speaking out. I think it gives even more courage to this young generation to be conservative, to be supportive of our president and what he's doing to secure our borders, to fix our economy, and to really put this country first and make sure that they have access to the American dream.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that in your experience, Erika, actually being there and being able to see it. Vice President J.D. Vance, as you know, he was there. And he took to social media highlighting a portion of Nicki Minaj's speech. He wrote, quote, Nicki Minaj said something at AmFest that was really profound. I'm paraphrasing, but she said, just because I want little black girls to think they are beautiful doesn't mean I need to put down little girls with blonde hair and blue eyes. We all got wrapped up over the last few years in zero-sum thinking. This was because the people who think they rule the world pit us against one another. Nicki Minaj rejects that. We all should. Adam, what is the vice president getting at in terms of the paraphrasing of what Nicki Minaj said, perhaps in your mind?
Well, we live in a society now where we do have leftists who try to judge everyone based on the color of their skin rather than the content of their character in a manner to pit one against one another. And having somebody like Nicki Minaj is powerful because the only time most Americans exit their echo chamber these days is when it's someone they like for reasons other than politics. It gives athletes, singers, actors outsized influence. That said, I would be a little wary anytime you suddenly team up with a pop star because these folks are unpredictable. You don't know what beliefs they're going to have next week. Last time Turning Point teamed up with a pop star, it was Kanye West, and that one didn't end up particularly well.
Oh, so you're nervous about Nicki Minaj, Adam?
I certainly am. You know, I like taking advantage of the fact that we have someone who can get our views to a wider audience, particularly of young people. But for me, I think we should get young people passionate about principles rather than personalities. You know, I'd love to see young people celebrating Hayek and Mises more so than Nicki Minaj. But again, if that's what it takes to bring people to the movement, I'm okay with it.
All right, Erika, final thoughts there.
Well, I could agree with that. We are a big tent movement, right? We want to bring in everyone, especially when it comes from a place of such authenticity. You know, Nicki came into this defending Christians in Nigeria, and she talked about her faith, which is so much aligned with the Turning Point mission, with what Charlie wanted to be remembered by. So I do believe she's coming from a very authentic place, from a place of faith, and seeing that President Trump is one that will defend that faith and that the conservative movement is where people of faith really belong. Totally understand the skepticism, but we welcome all of these folks into the movement, especially those that are really going to connect with young people like she did this weekend.
Get them in the door. That's the movement I see here. I also want to turn to this really quickly. After a poll last week showing this an abysmal record low approval rating for congressional Democrats, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling it a one-off. Watch.
Well, clearly that's an outlier poll. Listen, the most significant indicator of public sentiment is, are you winning elections or are you losing elections? And on that front, Democrats have been winning elections since January. These results aren't ambiguous. They're not unclear. They are unequivocal that the American people are rejecting Republican extremism and embracing our affordability agenda.
Their affordability agenda. All right, so this is a Quinnipiac poll, just to catch everyone up to speed, showing just 18% approved of the job congressional Dems are doing, 73% disapproving of congressional Dems. Adam, talk to me here.
Well, what it says is that the Dems are also now unhappy with their own party. They don't think their party is fighting enough against Trump. which is pretty hard to do when you're pretty much entirely out of power. Unfortunately, the same poll shows that the Dems, a plurality of Americans, want to see them take the House back next year, which is certainly worrying for Republicans. And what worries me most is that I think this unpopularity of the mainstream party within the Democrats is going to cause a lot of progressives to win primaries next year who would otherwise lose to more moderate Democrats. And in what may be a wave election, that could mean an outsized amount of radical progressive Democrats winning seats who otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah, Erika, I know your husband is running for governor there in Florida, but he still is serving in the House of Representatives as a Republican. Have you had some dinner conversation over the dinner table, rather, about this? Has this come up at all, and are you surprised by it?
Well, radical Democrats, those who are standing for the 20% on a lot of 80-20 issues, who want men and women's sports, for example, who want open borders, who don't believe in school choice, which is now an 80-20 issue, even on the Democrat side, they are the ones who have become the voice of the Democrat Party. That is why they're losing so much support, even from their own base. So regardless of whether in general they may support Democrats, it is not the Democrat Party of today. The Democrat Party of today has leaned in to the radical left-wing ideology that most Americans on both sides of the aisle do not support.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Erika Donald's joining us, Adam Gillette. Thank you both. Merry Christmas. Appreciate that.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. The